hate MLMs and my special interest is making spreadsheets of useless information, so I tracked all the popular girls from my high school as they joined MLMs and made a data set out of it. Here's some information. In my last video, I said that horse girls were really interested in Sensi, and a bunch of you were like, what high school did you go to that horse girls were popular? I live in a small ass town, okay? We are in the middle of cowboy country. We don't have city amenities. There are only 3 things to do here, okay? You go to church, you get drunk in a bush, and you join the local county 4-H. Most do all 3. The horse girls at my school were popular. I don't know what to tell you. Moving on. I've given each of the girls an identifier for the archetype they were in high school. So we've got our horse girls, our mean girls, our church girls, our brainiacs, and our jocks. Now I am looking for more ideas on the types of things I can start tracking, but for now I've got these. Number 1, did they get married young? And the cutoff here is 23. You had to be married at or before the age of 23. Number 2, did they marry some sort of law enforcement officer? And that might sound weird, but wait for the results. Are they a stay-at-home parent? And for the purposes of this video, the fact that they think they own their own business does not count as working. Also, disclaimer, nothing wrong at all with being a stay-at-home parent, okay? You guys do amazing work, you're heroes, we love you. Don't do MLMs though. And the last category I tracked is whether or not they stayed in a small town life. Like, we're all small town, we're all from here. Did they go off to cities or did they stay living rural? So it's chart time, let's check it out. Who are our worst offenders? Mean girls coming in first, not a surprise at all. Church girls not very far behind, also not surprising. Horse girls had a higher percentage than I was expecting. I don't know why I expected it to be lower, but I did. And in a weird twist, brainiacs actually edged out the jocks. Now let's check out the makeup of the MLMs in my town. The first one being, of course, makeup, Arbonne. We also have a lot of Mary Kay people here, but they're all over 35, so I didn't know or go to high school with any of them. We have Sensi, Herbalife, Usborne, Beachbody, and Unique. They're our big ones. All right, let's dive into the categories I decided to track. I really thought I had this one in the bag when I started tracking it, but I was wrong. The numbers don't lie. Apparently you are not more likely to join an MLM if you get married young. I knew this one was a thing though. Look at those numbers. This may have something to do with the fact that these are Canadian girlies, like Saskatchewan girls, right? And they are marrying RCMP. And RCMP in most parts of Canada is very much akin to military life. Like, you will be moved around a lot from town to town, you get new posts, you don't really stick in one place for too long. So I get it, like lack of job security, you're more susceptible to this. I have a little bit of sympathy. Not too much though. Did they stay living in a small town? And the answer is, yep, most of them did. Are they a stay-at-home parent? My bias was showing through. I thought this would be a lot higher, but it's actually less than 40%. But it is really funny that most of these guys are claiming, like, I earn 6 figures a year. Like, babe, if you earn 6 figures a year, why haven't you quit your day job? I don't have time to go further into detail with any of this, but please come back tomorrow for part 2 because there's some really interesting stuff I want you to see. This is part 2 of tracking the popular girls from my high school as they went into MLMs, and today I'm at the lake. I can work from anywhere because I'm my own boss. No, I'm just kidding, it's Sunday, let's go. Now, carrying on from the last video, I split the boss babes up by their high school archetype and tracked which MLM they entered, but I also started tracking some things that I thought might be relevant, including whether or not they got married young, and I set the cutoff at age 23 and ended up with this chart. And a lot of you were in the comments like, no way, that is way too young an age. So out of curiosity, I upped it by 1 year. I just switched it to 24 and good intuition. Also, just want to answer some questions really quick. There are 72 people in this data set. They are all girls that I went to high school with, so they will be in my grade, up to 2 years ahead of me and up to 2 years behind me. Also, interesting fact, they're all married, which was not intentional. It's a fact. They are. It's a small town thing, I think. I am trying to get enough info on the non-MLM girls from my high school so I can have a control group and compare the two, but it's hard. They don't have their shit on social media like the MLM girls do, so I can only really deal with what I have. And also, a lot of people were like, what about oils? You don't have oils here? I know what they are. They just don't seem to exist in this town. I don't know. Okay, so let's start looking at our girls and what MLMs they tend to gravitate towards. Horse girls freaking love Sensi, okay? Like, look at this. And the ones that don't like makeup, okay? They saw Unique and Arbonne. Now, the church girls are obsessed with Arbonne, okay? And I know exactly where this started. Back in 2013, a pastor's wife was the first one to bring it here, and it spread faster than STDs at a bush party. I don't even know if she still sells it, but we are still feeling the effects. Now, this one is kind of cute. The brainiacs mostly sell books. Out of all the MLMs, Usborne is like the one I'm least offended by. But let's go to the one I'm most offended by, and this isn't gonna surprise any of you. Y'all only had one thing in high school, and you didn't even discover another. For shame. Now, the mean girls actually did branch out a bit. Half of them sell Herbalife, and the other half is split between Unique, Arbonne, and Beachbody. They're like the most diverse group of MLM girls, but I'm so excited to show you this because Herbalife is sold exclusively by the mean girls. Also, the rest of this chart is really interesting if you want to pause to check it out. Now, the fun thing about tracking all these extra things on top is that you end up with charts like this, like what percentage of our MLM girls married cops or military. And this in particular was unsurprising, but nice to see in chart form. The mean girls and the jocks really like the cop vibe, and the church girls get sucked in pretty bad too. But my favorite chart I've pulled so far is the one that measures who got married young, and heading up the lead, surprising no one, is church girls, obviously. But wait, it gets better, because I got bored last night and I started tracking how long each of them had been dating their husband before they got married, and That is 100% of them married young against an average of 6 months relationship. Like, damn girl, I know you're frisky, but that's a lifelong commitment. I'm currently in the process of compiling a huge amount of information, okay? I'm looking at their education, number of kids, the job they have. I know a lot of you mentioned nurses, so I promise I'm doing a huge deep dive. If you like this series, follow along, come back for part 3. I'm going to be answering some of the most commonly asked questions on that small town MLM statistics video because my friend showed up with an ice cap and a small stack of papers and asked me to answer them in the style of Vogue. I think she means Wired, but it sounds fun, so let's do it. Are you a woman in STEM? I am absolutely not a woman in STEM. Sorry. Are you a data scientist? I am a piano teacher. Are you autistic? Yes. Are you from Utah? Yes. There were 72 girls in your grade. I swear to fucking Lucifer. I said this in the video. It was 72 girls spread across 5 grades. Me, 2 years above, 2 years below. That is 14.4 girls per year that went into an MLM. It was not all from my grade. Aren't you a bit of a mean girl yourself for shaming these people? Okay, so first off, I'm not shaming anyone. I don't name these girls, I don't name my town. I'm just a big old nerd who likes data. You don't know who any of these people are. And second, these girls are scam artists, okay? I know it, you know it, the whole world knows it. MLM sympathizers will be mocked and blocked in that order because you know I like to have the last word. This one just says cops. Okay, yes, a lot of you were asking how many cops existed in our small town that so many people can marry one, and there are 2 answers to this. The first one being that not everyone in this data set lives in this town still. Like, they moved away, they moved to other towns, they met cops there. And the second one being that our cops here in Canada are RCMP, Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and they function a lot like military families do, right? Like, they move around from post to post. So what this means for the town is there's a good rotation of cops coming in and out every year. It's not all the same people. Will you do a mean girl to nurse spreadsheet? I feel a little icky about this, and I'll tell you why. I don't want to shit on nurses, right? They work really hard. And also, that wasn't the point of the spreadsheet. It was about MLMs. I can tell you maybe which girls are nurses doing MLMs, but that's about as far as I'll go. I don't want to like disparage an entire career path that are filled with really kind and loving nurses. My sister's one of them. What meds are you on? Vyvanse. And finally, which girl group are you in? Joke's on you, because I only track the popular girls, and I was a certified band geek. That's me. I'm gonna start a new game called Boss Babe Bingo, where I assume that you sell an MLM based on something you left in my comment section, and if I'm right, I get a popsicle. It's orange flavored. Welcome back to Boss Babe Bingo, a game I invented where I assume you sell an MLM based on something you left in my comment section, and if I'm right, I get a popsicle. Does Color Street have popsicle-themed nails? Good news, this series hasn't reached my hometown yet, so part 3, nerds. Couple of housekeeping things before we start. First off, in the interest of keeping this ethical, this data is going to remain A, anonymous, and B, unprivileged. Anonymous meaning there will be no way to identify anyone used in this study, including presenting any findings that may result in one-person categories. And unprivileged meaning that I do not have exclusive access to this information. Any piece of data that I use is going to be publicly available on one of their socials. Anybody would be able to find it. Number 2, I know you're supportive, but please stop tagging Roberta Blevins. We are mutuals on TikTok. She knows this series exists. She doesn't need 8,000 notifications. And number 3, look at my username. Right now, do it. Look at my username. I'm Canadian. If you comment, if one more person comments, are you from Utah? Is this Utah? Are you sure it's not Utah? I'm gonna come to your house and loosen all your doorknobs. All right, without further ado, let's get to the good stuff. One thing I started tracking really closely this time around was people's education. I wanted to know if that had any bearing on the type of MLMs they joined. What I wound up with was this chart showing that most MLMs that exist here had 100% of the girls that sell them graduate high school. Herbalife had a couple that didn't, and Unique was really low. Less than 50%. But that really wasn't the one I was interested in seeing because most people around here graduate high school. What I really wanted to know was if having a post-secondary education had any effect. And for transparency, because I know we have a lot of church girls in this data set, I didn't count Bible college. A few girls went off for like a year or 2 years, but it's so indoctrinating that I just didn't think I should count it. You can tell me if I'm wrong. And there we go. That looks a lot lower. But there's something really, really interesting here. Do you see it? Look at what percentage of the US-born girls went off to university. 0. And the reason it's so interesting is because of this chart that we discovered in part 2, where we uncovered that 70% of the girls selling Usborne, which is a book MLM, were brainiacs, the high-achieving students in school. Why would the high-achieving students in school not go off to college? I had a theory, so I tested it, and I was right. This is a graph showing the percentage of girls that had kids when they started the MLM, and look at Usborne. All of them did. And I mean, the rest of them are really high up there too. It's no secret that these MLMs prey on stay-at-home moms, except for Unique. I don't know what the f is up with Unique. I cannot get a read on them. Finally, seeing the data spell it out for me made me realize that MLMs are so much more predatory than I originally thought. They are designed to go after these young moms who may be struggling to find an identity outside of their kids. They may also be struggling to find an identity outside of being a wife. You know how I know that? I tracked it. This graph showcases all of the girlies in our data set. The green is the age they got married, and the blue is the age they started the MLM. You'll notice that up until the age of about 25, there's a really consistent pattern. These girls get married and then they start selling the MLM very soon after. With the exception of that girl up there. That is what we call an outlier. After the age of 25, the pattern just kind of doesn't exist anymore. Now, this might be due to divorce and remarriage, but like we said, we're not going to go digging for information that isn't publicly available, so we're not going to showcase that. For everyone who's following along, thank you. The next step I have planned is to greatly expand the dataset, but it's going to take some time. And if you're the one girl from my hometown who actually did find the TikTok and comment on it, shh, don't tell them about it. They don't know yet. Mostly because everyone's on Reels.
I'm going to be honest, I'm not totally sure I understand this question, but I'm going to try to help. So for example, like a Ford F-150 would not be an MLM because it's a truck. What else? Danny DeVito, not an MLM. Your pet is probably not. It would be up to the pet though. An orange would not be because it's citrus. The urge to curse when you stub your toe, not an MLM because that's more of like an abstract idea. I have to double check on this, but I don't think the Eiffel Tower is an MLM. Oh, my mom, definitely not an MLM, because MLMs tend to not leave you alone, and she left me alone for like 24 years, so. Therapy, probably not.
Welcome back to Boss Babe Bingo again. Oh, sorry, I thought you were done. A game I invented where I don't even remember what this game was about. Oh, right. A game where I assume you sell an MLM based on something you left in my comment section. And if I'm right, I get a popsicle. I forgot to record that part. But I didn't even know there were crypto MLMs. That's crazy, man.